Okay, next up we have Inez Raharjo. Inez is in the bioengineering program. Her dissertation advisor is Sri Nagarajan, and her talk is entitled, Do You Listen to Your Vowels?
When we speak, others can hear us, but we can also hear ourselves. And this auditory feedback has a powerful effect on our speech. Sadly, millions of people in the US suffer from speech impairments. Many of those are affected by their auditory feedback. And unfortunately, we don't always understand why some therapies fail to improve their speech. For example, some people who stutter will start speaking fluently if we change their auditory feedback. But it doesn't work for everyone who stutters. This is just one example of how our brain depends on our auditory feedback to maintain our speech. But it's also an example of how little we understand on how the brain controls for speech in general, not just in those with speech impairments, but especially in normal healthy speakers. So let's start by investigating the brain of healthy speakers. And I'm especially curious as to whether the brain depends on auditory feedback to maintain for our vowels, like the eh in head and ah in car. Do we actively listen and correct for our vowels as we are producing each of them? To investigate this, I asked people to say the word head many times and prolong like that. They wore a microphone and headphones through which they can listen to their own voice. But sometimes I would secretly alter what they hear. So when they're saying head, they would actually hear themselves saying head or head. And the change was actually so subtle and brief that the subjects did not notice this. After I analyzed their responses and generate the plots, I found that people on average do attempt to correct for their ongoing vowels. So for example, because they want to hear themselves saying head, when I alter what they hear to head, they will end up saying something like head to compensate for the change. And this is actually something that we haven't seen before, that healthy speakers subconsciously but actively use their auditory feedback to maintain for their ongoing vowels. My next step is to figure out now how the brain is able to do all this without conscious control. This is a small but sure step towards an integrated understanding of how the brain controls for speech in general. And hopefully in the future, we can help everyone with speech impairments, including those who stutter, to produce beautiful, intelligible speech. Thank you.